If anything happens technologically, we will continue here in person, and this can be viewed on MCTV after the fact. We have 2 minutes. They were 3.
Greg, those didn't make their way to the agenda, so they'll be voted on this coming meeting.
Okay. So our first item is new business, and this is 18 Billings Road, replacing grass with pervious materials. And
Hello.
hello, you are the Quins?
Watts, Quinn Watts, I'm Quinn.
I'm Watts.
Okay.
But that's us.
Over the winter, we've had such a bad wet winter. We've noticed a lot of pooling and puddling. We'd like to take the grass up and put stone in to help keep the mud out, mud out of the house and keep whatever we can there for soil. This concrete walkway we'd also like to take up. There's a short concrete walkway that we'd like to take up. I do have pictures of the flooding if you'd like to see them.
Sure, we'll have a look. I can imagine it's pretty
Pretty
messy. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's just from years of walking on it and
Yeah,
nothing's really turned
I
out.
understand that. I don't have any problem with you putting gravel down, and I don't know if you spoke to the building commissioner,
Not about this, no.
but he commented on this, and just, his opinion, he doesn't think that changing the grass to the gravel is going to improve the flooding and the drainage issues. He thinks that during heavy rains, the ground is so saturated that there just isn't a lot of drainage happening there. So, I don't object to going to gravel. You can put them down here. But it will help with your mud issue, but I'm not sure it's going to give you any better drainage.
Okay.
And with regard to weeds coming up through it, you're gonna have to not use like Roundup
Right,
or, poisons on weeds.
right. We have it at the end of the driveway, and I sit there and someone just keeps.
And pull. It's
The
therapeutic.
neighbors think she's nuts.
Do you have any comments, Mike?
Not particularly. One, the current lawn area is pervious. The materials to be laid there would be pervious. The gravel would certainly help deter mud from entering the property. Whether or not it would help the actual inundation of the subsurface, it's a different story.
So as long as you're aware that, you may not
Yep.
gain drainage, but hopefully you'll lose some mud.
We just didn't want to do this. Just go ahead and do it. We wanted to
Yep,
ask permission,
Well, thank you. Thank
here
you
we are.
for
So-
considering that.
So are these pitches, the water pooling because of rain or because of the tide or
The rain.
the rain?
Because of the rain.
And so I guess the question would be if you go deep, how deep do you plan to go? I mean, it seems to
We
me
want to
that the
just go
deeper
like
you,
6 inches and then cover it with
6 inches,
soil.
turn it over, remove the grass, go down about 6 inches, and kind of mix up the soil, and then put the stone down on top of that.
okay, because I know, I was just wondering if you went down deep enough and it was stone, there was no dirt with grass, that wouldn't maybe let the water flow through as much. I'm just thinking it might solve the problem to a degree, because
Right.
I'm thinking, water will pool on the grass, whereas if it's stone and below it, I'm guessing it's sandy eventually. I'm on the other part of Marshfield
sure
where it's
it's
clay, and it's, the
But we have
water
some
doesn't
clay
go.
too.
Oh, okay.
When we did the excavation, when we did the addition, it was very sandy and very
Yeah,
wet.
okay. No, I think it's a good solution, yeah.
Are there any clogged culverts or anything?
They
in
were
there?
there yesterday.
Yeah.
The town, the water department was there with them in clearing out the manhole covers. At the end of Billings towards Plymouth Ave, there are culverts, and they are it's constantly a flooding.
I know there's a lot of flooding issues there with the culverts, and I know DPW is aware of it and working on it. I don't know if that will have any impact
I don't think so.
Here?
It's
It
like
shouldn't.
we're kind of like in the middle, it doesn't, it kind of stops with us because it comes into our property.
Mm-hmm.
Where if there was a berm or something, it would stop it, and there's nothing there. That's why we were thinking the gravel might work better.
Well, I have no objection to you trying the gravel. Does anybody else have,
No?
So, we're gonna vote on this as de minimis, or?
Yes, or it could also be captured in the as-built site plan for their orders of condition at 422994.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense, have it all wrapped up
Yeah.
in one thing. So I would say, yep, go ahead and proceed with the gravel.
We'll send you complimentary pictures after the next rainstorm when it's done.
Well, I
See if it
hope,
happens.
I hope you get some relief
Okay.
from
Me too.
putting stone down, but just
All
keeps
right.
getting worse all the time.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you for checking in with us, we
You're welcome.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Old business, B2, California Street, land donations. Is Mr. Albanese here? Okay. We have two parcels, one is .09 acres, that's G12 1918, and G12 1815 that Mr. Albanese would like to donate to the town. However, the first parcel has hazard trees on it that are a concern. And the second parcel has, based on the satellite photos, encroachments on it. Yeah, that's something, can you tell what that is, Mike, or?
I couldn't tell. They had a fence around the property, but it does look like somebody has been maintaining a lawn area in there.
Looks like there might be a structure or,
Yeah, a structure. I could try to get a better satellite image if you.
well,
me.
yeah, I think that shows us an adequate picture. So I would say at this time that unless the hazard trees are corrected on one parcel and the encroachment is corrected on the other, we would not want to take we would not want to propose this to the select board as something that we would recommend the town take on. If those conditions are corrected, I would recommend that they come back and we will discuss again. Yes.
And specifically for parcel G121815, if they provide evidence that the encroachment's indeed not on their parcel or has been remediated,
Right.
that could be different.
Right, so at this time, I'm going to suggest that we not accept these parcels until these issues are resolved. And I don't think we even need to vote on that, unless somebody thinks otherwise. Okay. 1187 Ferry Street. Oak Development. I know there are a number of people here that want to speak on this. We are still waiting for an amended order of conditions to come in, which unfortunately was not ready for today. We have seen construction continuing, and we have seen staircases put in with some kind of footing. I don't know if they're diamond piers or, well, they are diamond piers,
Yes.
thank you. So, what, we had, myself, Administrator Seeley, were you at the CCM meeting? No. And Liz and myself met with Rebecca Haney of CZM and Jason Bertner, and we went over the flow path analysis situation. And they gave us guidance on how to go about that, which I think I shared with everyone on the commission. I don't know if you had time to really look at that. But that's what we are expecting to see come back with the amended order of conditions. According to Rebecca Haney, because this is not a velocity zone or a moderate wave action zone, the likelihood of an engineer submitting a flow path analysis is lower. But it falls on us to evaluate this situation and figure it out for ourselves. So, are you here on this, Andrew, or, I'm not,
I'm here. This is PJ from Oak Development.
oh, Mr. Antonik, hello. Okay, would you like to speak?
Well, first off, I apologize for missing last meeting. Andrew, I know, commented on some things, but unfortunately I had a personal matter. I couldn't make it. But with that said, I'm not prepared to really go into the amended NOI and that submission yet. I'm waiting for the plan from my engineer, which I thought I was gonna have today. But it's just not come in yet. But I should have it by the end of the week, and the NOI paperwork is sitting right next to me, ready to go in. I'm just waiting for his plans. So as soon as and he's not a engineer, he's a land surveyor. As soon as the land surveyor gets that to me, I'll submit it. And at that time, I think we can discuss the grading on the site and plan and how to go about this with the flow plan correctly. But until then, I think I'm just not prepared to really talk about it educationally, you know.
Okay, fair enough. Do you know if your consultant is going to be showing us a flow path analysis?
Yeah, I actually saw Michael on site today, and I showed him what we had sketched out and that he is formalizing, what the, expected flow plan analysis based on the grading changes, yes.
Okay. So I know there are people in the neighborhood here who would like to speak. And I'm just gonna open it up and for comments. If anybody has any, I know Attorney Watsky is here and I see Mr. Carberry.
Yeah, Attorney Watsky is on the Zoom call, and maybe I'll start. Mike, did you get the slide?
Name and address.
Excuse me, Rick Carberry, 1190 Ferry Street, Marshfield, Massachusetts.
Do you mind coming to the microphone?
Oh,
Thank you.
hi, everybody. Rick Carberry, 1190 Ferry Street, Marshfield, Mass. My question, Mike, was did you get the slide picture set that I think Attorney Watsky probably sent yesterday or today?
Slide picture. I have these two images of the diamond pier footings that you sent. Was there a different slide deck?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me reference
My
that.
apologies, I had understood that Rick was bringing it with him. I can forward it on to Mike right now, but I could also show it on my screen and share screen that way.
That would work.
That would be
You
the
want
best.
to share your screen.
Okay.
I'll make you a host.
Okay, great, thank you.
And Rachel, maybe I'll just take the commission and administrator, through the picture show that we created.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, one moment.
Kelly, come back on the commission.
That's right.
Okay. There we go. So, these are just a series of slides.
Actually, Rick, can you stay by the microphone so that we can capture you on the
Okay. Yeah.
recording?
Yeah. Can I carry that around?
You could.
Yep, I think so.
Just
Yep.
don't press the button.
Okay. All right. So this is a series of pictures that I've taken since I live across the street and work on the second story, and I'm able to watch this go on. So there's the old 1187 cottage, Sears and Roebuck 1920 structure that was ordered out of the catalog and built in the 20s. This is kind of during the raising that went on. So there's a dumpster. This is a flood that occurred. And you can see the whole lot originally, at its original elevation, is totally swamped out. It's a moat. There's a pile of fill. This was approximately 8 to 10 PA Landers truckloads. And over here is the new beautiful home that is planned to be constructed on the site. So go to the next slide, please, Rachel. So let's talk about a flood event. So this is an 11.0 tide, February 14th. And this is the front of my house. And it's up over my seawall. It comes up the sides. It comes up on the street. I mean, that's kind of been typical. You know, there's the raised house again. This is in the middle of the raising, and you can see the water. This is all taken at the same time, and there's that same view of the dumpster with the original elevation, base elevation of that lot. And so the water is all over that lot. That lot's always been one of the lowest spots in the neighborhood. But over here on this side is 1185, and never used to have water on that side, but they start getting, the neighbors at 1185 begin getting water now. In this case, it's dry. This is as the tide was coming in. This was the full tide. There's the fence that separates 1187 from 1185. We'll go to the next slide. Okay. So the first thing that happens is the Board of Health approves the installation of piles in a tight tank at an elevation of 7.3, the original elevation being 5.5. And so here come the trucks, filling the lot, spreading it around. They actually bermed the front, but they left the back 4 to 6 feet of the lot at the original elevation. So while they were approved to put the tight tank in at an elevation of 7.3, they weren't approved to fill the whole entire lot, which is what in effect happened. So this was the fill stage, and so it's more than a couple feet has been filled. We'll go to the next slide, please, Rachel. All right, so here's another 11.1 foot high tide, March 10th. There's that back section that wasn't filled. There's the constricted lot that was filled in the front where the piles are. It's another view of it. There's the moat in the back that you can see. And as the tide comes in, this water heads this way towards the neighbor's yard to the point where it begins flowing all onto her patio, which never used to happen before. She's been there several years at this point. This is a view of my house across the street during that same tidal event, and you can see, sometimes the water comes in on the street, but a lot of times it comes in, backs in through the marsh,
I was going to ask you, is this all sheet flow from the river, or is the marsh also?
If you have a concomitant storm, like a nor'easter and an astronomical high tide, we get it from both sides, unfortunately. So I've been watching this go on now for 10 years since I've lived there, since 2014. Next slide, please, Rachel. So at the last Concom meeting, our understanding was the permission was granted to put the piles in, pump the cesspool out, put the tight tank in at an elevation of 7.3, and they were supposed to stop. Well, they didn't stop, and I'm told that there was no elevation certificate, there was no floodplain permit. I don't know if that's correct, but that's what I was told. So I don't know how the Oak Development was allowed to continue to build. It was pointed out that since the structure was all going to be over 11 feet, that it wouldn't cause any issues with the grading or any changes to the grading, which would be true. But what they began to do then is construct additional structure on top of the grading, an egress point stairs under the second bay of the garage, and then a second egress point in between the abutter's house and 1187, which they weren't supposed to do. And these are diamond piers. And I think there's a footing they were planning to pour here. They did stop working today, so I don't know if they get a day off. They've actually been doing a good job with the building, but they weren't supposed to be doing the building. So I don't know how that happens. Next slide, please. So here you go, from flood to fill to flow to abutters, right? That's the title of this slide. So here's the flood, here's the fill. See how nice and dry this is? That's a constriction, whether the water comes this way or that way. We don't have a great picture of that back patio, but the whole back of that patio and that planting bed now fills with water. That never used to happen before. Next slide. Here's Kathleen's beautiful patio. We don't have a picture of this when the water comes in, but it comes in like this. And we're gonna have some high 11.3 foot tides this Sunday, Monday. We're gonna try to take some more pictures. And I've got one more slide. This is very difficult to look at and understand. This is 1187, the river, Ferry Street. The worst thing that happened in this neighborhood is 1180 got away with raising their property. They built a 2+ foot berm up. They sit high and dry in any river flooding event. So now what happens is the water races in between my house at 1190 and 1180. This is high and dry. I'm a little higher, not as high as this house, but I'm a little higher here too. Water races in, actually creates a 2-foot standing wave in the street. And at times, the velocity is high enough, it washes the gravel and seashells out from 1181, 1185, and it all goes into the marsh. And now the other thing that's happening is the marsh water sometimes will flow back this way. So this is a sensitive area, an AE10 area. Anybody that moves here knows that you're going to get wet, and that's fine. That's something we put up with in exchange for having a beautiful view and a property on the river. But I don't think what anybody signed up in the neighborhood for is to allow people to come in, add fill, raise the property, optimize their particular lot to build a new house on, and shed the water, down the street to the rest of the abutters. I just don't think that's right. This property got away with it. I don't think it's right for 1187 to get away with it. Nor do I think it's right that the Oak Development was allowed to continue to build. When they were told in the meeting, and I watched the tape, and it explicitly said, pump the cesspool, put the piles in, put the tight tank in, raise the grade around the tight tank, and stop. They didn't stop. They kept building. They added stairs, and they went around. They filled in the whole lot.
Thank you. Well, I went back and I watched the entirety of our last meeting discussing this, and my understanding was that, yes, they could install the tight tank, fill the former cesspool, drive the piles, and put the first deck on. And then nothing could be done without an elevation certificate, which Mr. Stewart, who was here, stated in that meeting. But at his discretion, apparently, he allowed the building to continue. Do you have an elevation certificate yet?
Is that directed to me?
I'm asking Andrew, the building commissioner and the floodplain manager.
Administrator, but thank you, Madam Chair. I do not have an elevation certificate. I let PJ continue without that elevation certificate. Basically, the elevation certificate at this point, it's a building code requirement to certify that the first floor is above the design flood elevation. And I mean, with all of the plans from every single property in that neighborhood that transects from the engineering department of the roadway, I've been able to determine that with a tape measure that is well above the design flood elevation, and that's really the only thing that would stop them from going forward, is to certify that it is above the design flood elevation. So they've been allowed to continue while they've been working on these additional things. I mean, getting an elevation certificate from a land surveyor is one thing, but he's now had to also work on a site plan and a flow path analysis. So the workload has exacerbated, so I allowed him to continue without giving me that, so that he could present everything together.
So as floodplain manager, what are your thoughts about what's being created there with the fill that has currently come
Sure.
into that property?
If you could bring that last slide up, please, Rachel?
For one moment.
I will note that coastal zone management felt that there should be no filling on this property.
I understand that, and that is coastal zone management's standard response to anything happening in a flood zone or any, in a buffer zone to a wetlands resource area. So that's a pretty standard thing. However, if you also look at the coastal manual that they put out, it talks about fill in dunes. It talks about how you are supposed to condition these things. I mean, we're talking about an AE zone that's 1,500 feet away from the limit of moderate wave action and the nearest velocity zone. So there is no wave action generated here. Was here about a week after the Conservation Commission. We had a flood event. We had a storm and a flood, and I was there, and I took pictures, and I took video of the flood coming up from, like, exactly, if I'll take the microphone here, like Mr. Carberry did, and I'll show you what I witnessed. So the water does come right through here, through 1184, as this is elevated on piles, and it has a very even grade all the way to the river. So most of the water came right through this property, and it started to kind of slip down around where the that asphalt driveway had been allowed to be put in here, and it kind of came there and it stopped and it flowed back here, and then finally eventually it came up over the crest of the river, or the crest of the roadway, and as soon as it hit that crest, then it starts to come across and flow down this way. So it comes across here, and then it starts to flow down, and it comes in between these two houses is the lowest spot there's currently. And this property has always been the lowest spot. Now, there's a retaining wall against this property, and this entire property is elevated on fill and is even. So this property slopes down to the marsh and allows all this water to come this way. This property here has put solid wall fencing around their property and has done patio work in the backyard that was not conditioned. 1190 has a septic system in the back that is higher than anything else on on this street. 1180 does have a raised tight tank. I don't know how they got away with it because it was signed off and given a certificate of compliance by the Conservation Commission, so I don't necessarily see how that's getting away with anything. 1203 was completely elevated on fill with retaining walls around it. This sits about 2.5 feet off the roadway to the top of the retaining wall where the house begins. So, like I said, all of this is coming from here. It's dissipating, it's coming over the roadway, and it's finding the lowest spot, which is right here at 1187, because all of this right here has been redeveloped. All of this has been redeveloped. This has been redeveloped. These are existing raised septic systems. Madam Chair, that's unacceptable.
Let him finish, and then no crosstalk. It all goes through me.
Thank you. So what I see as the most reasonable way to solve the solution of water rushing across and going through the lowest spot, and essentially this is what we talk about when we're talking about channelization, right? Water, when it is constricted, moves faster, okay? And so it is constricted to a lowest spot right here, and it's going to move fast and go straight down, especially when it's on a gradient. And so what happens is, yes, that's the water starts to flow and it starts to erode. It's eroding underneath the roadway right here. And if they are allowed to, obviously they have the tight tank going in here, but if they're allowed to keep that elevation even with the roadway and then start to grade it back so that everything is nice and even, and that is really proper floodplain management, where you want to get the flow even. Because when water moves evenly across an even grade, it slows down. When water is channelized and it's constricted, it speeds up. When water moves fast, it erodes and scours. When it moves nice and evenly, it dissipates and goes back down into the ground. Now, I understand Rebecca is concerned that if there's fill here, it will lessen the detention area or the retention area of the wetlands to absorb floodwaters, okay? But what we have to understand also is this was a non-compliant solid structure in a flood zone. We've removed a non-compliant solid structure. We have improved the functions of this property by just by removing that and filling the cesspool. If you allow them to grade everything else nice and even with the way these are also graded, we will slow down the floodwaters, we will decrease erosion, we will stop the little wave action that's happening on the street because you'll slow down the waters and it'll move more evenly. So that is my proposition. Allow them to do that fill. Obviously, they have to because of the tight tank. And that is a Board of Health regulation. Those are based on state regulations. It is not like an attempt to let them get any higher or anything. Those are based on science is why that elevation has to be there. So allow them to put the tight tank, get the proper cover, but allow them also to even it out so that we don't create any channels that will create erosion and fast-moving water around that tight tank. And we'll be able to, honestly, it'll protect everything else. Because there's an elevation in this roadway, and everything comes up and over. So adding fill on the backside that's lower than the elevation of the roadway is not going to exacerbate any flooding effects on this side of the street, okay? The other thing Rebecca asked us to look at is the 2030, 2050, and 2070 sea level rise changes. If we were to get a 1% flood in this area, there would be 3 feet of water over the roadway. 3 feet of water coming from this direction or this way, it's not going to make a difference what's going to happen. Okay, so that's what we really have to be looking at is that 1% flood and the amount of water. The amount of water in a 1% flood with 3 feet of water over this entire area, the non-compliant houses are going to be very much in trouble at that time. And really what's going to happen is they will have a maximum, in that design scenario, they will have a maximum of 1.5 foot waves in this area because it's an AE zone and it's 1,500 feet away from the limb wall. So they will have, if you really want to do a flow path analysis, it will be shallow ponding water at 3 feet in depth, and it will have a maximum of 1.5 foot waves. That's the flow path. What we're talking about is general, just tidal stuff that we're seeing everywhere. Beach Street, Ridge Road, Ferry Street. We're seeing this everywhere, especially this year. It has been a major problem, and it's not going to go away. And we have an opportunity, I think, to lessen the effects of the normal flooding in this area by allowing them to do this. And I don't think that there will be any adverse effects by allowing them to evenly grade the thing. I think it will only improve the functions of this lot. Thank you.
When you talk about grading to level with the street,
Yes.
are you just talking about the front of the
Correct.
parcel? You're not talking about anything going on
Just the front of the
behind
parcel.
house and
Even back and potentially goes down from that point. Don't raise anything, no berms, no deflection of water. Water still needs to travel that direction towards the marsh when it comes over the roadway. But it needs to do so evenly, so you slow the velocity of the water.
Mr. Carberry.
Rachel, can you put up that last slide again, please? Rachel, can I have that last slide again, please?
All right. One moment.
Okay. So this is my map. I've lived here and watched this for 10 years, okay? And it is getting worse. It is getting worse. A concomitant astronomical high tide and a nor'easter, the major changes are the water just rushes in. In a regular high tide now, we have mostly water backing in from the marsh. And when Andrew says you make all these level, They're not making all these level. This is, under here, it's 7.3. It's 7.3 around the whole lot, except for this. So what's going to happen, when the water comes this way, you saw it, I had pictures. It goes and fills in this back moat, and it goes this way. All right? And when you do have a big flood, this is a constriction. So is that. What this has done creates a river that runs at 6 or 7 knots with a 2-foot standing wave in the middle of the street. So Andrew's supposition that this is all going to be level, no. This is at 5.5. This is at 5.5 base elevation. This is at 7.3. This is a constriction. I mean, I'm not a hydrologist, I'm a chemist. But I've watched this occur. And the changes, just with the events with an astronomical high tide of flooding from the back of the marsh coming into the back end of these properties, it's hammering this property, the patio, those were the pictures. This patio is ruined too, and is eventually going to get these other ones here. And I don't think it's fair to optimize this lot at the expense of the rest of the neighborhood. And it's unacceptable to me, as a Marshfield taxpayer, to allow some people to continue to build without the proper documentation and then demand that others have it in place before they do anything on their lot. That's selective determination of who you enforce on and who you don't.
Thank you. I have,
Sure, if I may.
I'll forward that.
uh, yes, go ahead.
Me or Andrew?
You, Attorney Watson.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry, it's, with the smaller screens, it's hard to see who's being pointed at. So, I understand the reasoning behind wanting to allow fill to an extent, to even out and prevent sort of all the water being pushed onto the 1187 property. However, what's going on right now is that there is currently unpermitted fill over functionally the entirety of that property. And from my understanding from the last meeting, Andrew was in agreement that the way the fill has been put in is not appropriate. And that is a wetland violation. There's unpermitted fill within wetland buffer zone, within riverfront area, and it's an ongoing, continuing violation that is causing damage to the abutting properties. If the developer chooses to submit a amended notice of intent or this full path analysis that shows a different grading that is appropriate for the site, I'd love to see that. That is certainly something that is useful to see and useful to be able to actually view how it's going to be compliant with the regulations. But as it stands, the work being permitted to continue, especially constructing the stairs on the exterior around the area of the house, without having the fill having been removed to the appropriate and current, like what should have been the existing conditions, it's an ongoing violation that should either have a cease and desist or an enforcement order requiring that fill to be removed until a permit has actually been issued and is considered final. Right now, the work being permitted to continue is going to exacerbate the difficulty in removing the fill later on or in adjusting the fill. Because to my understanding, the way the footings for those stairs are put in is with what the grade is with the fill on it. So that is where my focus is at this time. Is I can't speak to whether the proposed work would comply because we don't have a notice of intent or revised plans in the record right now. But what's going on at the site right now is a violation with this 2+ feet fill over the majority of the site.
Could I comment, please?
Go ahead, Mr. Antonek.
So Mr. Carberry pointed out that the elevation of the neighbor to my left at 1185 is at 5.5. Can I share my screen, Michael?
Yes, I can make you a co-host.
I've pulled the septic as-built of that property to ensure that, let's see here, where am I? To ensure that I'm not causing a problem next door. I proactively pulled that. Is this the right one? Sorry, I'm having trouble figuring this out. Give me 1 second. There it is. And you'll notice, can everybody see that?
Yes, we see it.
You'll notice this is 1185 septic as-built that was received in 2022. And the elevation grade on top of the septic manhole covers is 7. So the plan that Gordiski originally put forward, which was this one, did that change when I did that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you'll notice that the top of the tank is at 7.3. You can see that right there, okay? And then it slowly grades off. But then you'll also notice that he has a proposed driveway of pavers underneath the house. So this was the approved plan that I purchased. And through this, one would, you can see that the grading line is right here, and that fill needed to be brought in to bring it to 7.3 in order to obtain this driveway access underneath out to the road. So that's why we brought the fill in, according to the original plan. Now, the piers for, it's been brought to my attention that there were more piers installed than what was originally proposed, but you'll notice right here on this note, right here, subject to structural design. So when I pulled my building permit, I applied with both the Dick Rockwood design prints and the stamped Rivermore plan right here, which shows the foundation. This is what was installed, and you'll notice that the piers are all here. Now, I went through the proper channels to pull a permit. I submitted all these plans and went through all of the departments, including conservation, and it got signed off, which included these piers, because this is what the engineer designed as indicated by this plan, subject by structural design. So this is what was put in. The fill was brought in to make the underside work according to the original approved plan. And one of the things I'd like to note is that back in January, I had email correspondence with conservation of, I was proactive going to them and saying, hey, I can't seem to find a notice, an order of conditions, can you send it to me? And they very nicely, Michael and his assistant in the office sent it to me, and I said, listen, I don't see a mitigation plan here, and all the other towns I've worked in, there's always been a mitigation schedule. Am I missing something? Do I need to prepare one? And it was said to me that there was no mitigation, there was no other action, that the plan was approved, and that I should just move forward with the current plan. And so that's what I did, that's how I pulled my permits, and that's how I moved forward. Then, during that conversation, I said to Michael, I said, I think the grading on this lot is incorrect, and I'd like to make some changes on it. And he advised me to come to you guys to do so, which is why I originally came. And as you can see, I was correct. It's a problem. This original plan is not a very well-made plan. It doesn't show any access to the house. According to this plan, there's no stairs to get up, right? The grading is definitely not right. And I recognized that at the very beginning, which is why I came to the commission. So from the get-go, I've been, pushing hard to do the right thing and to create something that's acceptable for everybody. And, again, the house next door, the driveway underneath is level for their cars to park on gravel, just like we're proposing here. They are at 7. We're gonna be at 7.3 with the gravel because we need to adhere to the health code standards. And as Andrew pointed out, we're gonna propose a plan that gradually grades it down. Now, there may be a small swale on the left side, meaning this area here. And to avoid putting a retaining wall in, which I don't wanna do, I've been advised by some environmental engineers and people in my peer group that the best way to do is to do gravel on this side with plantings to stabilize it. So that's the plan that we're putting together. That's the plan I plan on presenting once the NOI is established. And blanking on your name, Rachel. I respect your worries about, the grading now. Changing the grading with a skid steer under the house is really not a big deal. And changing the grading around everything. And if we need to remove the stairs, then we'll remove the stairs. It's not a big deal. But to me, it was important to get those stairs established so that the workers and people working on site have a safe way to get up and down, that we can access the house correctly. We chose to use, if you look at the Rivermore plans, you'll see right here that they proposed, and they also put on the plan, and it was approved through the building permit to put pile cutoffs in, which would mean I would have had to excavate to do so, and I chose not to because I knew it would disrupt the ground. And I went with the diamond piers, which only, the actual pier is only about 8 inches under the ground, and then, the galvanized posts go down to hold it in place. I thought it was a better course of action. So again, I'm not here to propose our final plan. I'm still working on it. We're taking everything into account. And we're doing the best we can to try to work with the commission and work with Andrew to try to, create something that Mr. Carberry will be happy with and the rest of the neighborhood. I will also say, in the end, the grade of my lot will still be the lowest grade in the neighborhood compared to everybody else. I'm not looking to raise the lot any higher than anybody else. I'm not looking to create a flow problem for anyone else. I'm just looking to have a usable yard, and that's it.
Madam Chair, excuse me.
I'm going to let Mr. Carberry speak because he was in line, and then I'm going to let you speak.
Thank you.
I'm holding the elevation certificate for 1185 Ferry Street in my hand, and the lowest base elevation close to structure is 5.5. Okay, so it's not 7.3. Here it is from Crawford EET Engineering. All right, the highest point is 6.7, but the lowest elevation is 5.5. So everybody keeps saying it's 7.3. It's all even. It's not true. Here's the documentation.
Thank you. Could you, PJ, could you bring up the septic as-built again, please?
Yeah, give me a sec here.
I have a question for Mr. Seeley.
Yes.
The plan that he is showing us, not the Rockwood, is that the plan that came to conservation?
That is not the plan that
That is
came to
not the
con.
plan that
The
came to
most recent
conservation.
one with the accurate number of piles and where it's referenced that cutoff piles would be used, where in fact diamond pier footings went in. That is the Rivermore engineering plan that was part of the building permit.
But conservation
Plans.
never saw that plan.
No, our approved site plan and plan of record is still the Gorodetsky site plan, signed and stamped 5/15/2023.
Okay, so we're
We're operating off of
conservation
different
was
plans.
on one plan, building was on another plan.
Well, you mean the site plan? Mm-hmm. Well, we were presented with Gorodetsky first and then the other one as well. Yeah, I mean.
Okay, we never saw the other.
Zoning also never saw the updated site plan, but I believe the footprint's the same. It's just the amount of piles that's different. It's in the same exact location and same size. It's still the same design of the house. None of that changed. It was just the structural design of how many piles needed to go in, and it was a different site plan done by, I believe, Rick Servant instead of Alex Gorodetsky. Now,
Well, it's not necessarily a site plan, though. It's not a land surveyed plan. It's just a structural layout of piers, right? So, I'm sorry to interrupt you. This here, the Rivermore, this is a structural engineer. This is not a land surveyor. So he's working off of Gorodetsky's layout to make sure that they design a pier system in accordance with the layout that's on the plan that was approved, which indicated that an engineer had to provide the specifications for it.
We didn't see that either.
No, we
No,
You never saw any of this. I just
It's
want
the-
to, I just want to be
Right,
clear,
so-
these are new plans to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, so these are new plans as far as the building permit is concerned. But this plan, this layout is the exact same as this layout, right? Those two layouts are the same. See that? They're just turned 90 degrees. So Rivermore takes this layout from this site plan and they create a pile plan that fits inside this footprint that is approved subject to structural design. And so these are the structural designs that fit within the parameters that were approved. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, but I just want to be clear that the original orders of conditions that were issued by this commission were based on the Gorodetsky plan.
Correct. And
These
in my
never
experience-
came before us.
Yes, so in my experience, as long as in every other situation, I've done 10 houses on. And in any other town or situation I've been in, as long as we stay within the parameters of the approved site plan and the elevation is correct, then it's been fine. I've never had to supply a foundation. It's always been done through the building permit process, which is what I did. I applied for building permits, every department reviews it, including conservation, and confirm that it's in compliance with anything that we're supposed to be in compliance of, and they say, here's your permit. And that's what I did. If there was an issue with this plan, the system should have triggered that during the building permit process, in my opinion. And Andrew, you can speak probably more clearly to that, but I'm within the parameters that are shown here as far as the tiles are concerned and the elevation of the first floor. Although we don't have an exact elevation certificate yet, it is in compliance. You know, I measured it, Andrew, we all measured it, it's in compliance, we just haven't gotten that stamp yet, right? And so, and as far as the fill brought in, same thing, we're doing what was approved here, underneath the house. Now, we can change what's around the house, that's not a big deal, it's just a skid steer in a day. But what I really want to stress is that this plan, although you didn't see the final engineered set, never in my career have I ever had to present the engineered set as long as I adhered to the site.
At this point, I want to see if any other commissioners have questions, comments.
Can I just-
I'm
I got-
sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Can you bring up that site plan again, please? The 1185 site plan, septic design, septic as-built?
Again, if I can find it, hold on. So many plans, here you go.
I mean, the one thing I will say to what PJ just spoke to is that it did say on the Gorodetsky plan that the pile locations would be subject to that. And I know that the commission before has determined that piles, you know, essentially by square inches are kind of de minimis, you know. I know you've ruled on de minimis piles in the past, so. PJ, can you go to the as-built here and just show, yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Okay, can you zoom into the rear of the lot there? All the way in the back, and also, this is an as-built that was done by Bob Crawford, the same guy who did the elevation certificate for this property. PJ, can you show where the elevation is? Move back up a little bit. I think he has some elevation points on it. Can you zoom in?
I couldn't actually find them. There's a nail set in the road at 7.6.
7.6 is the roadway, right there. And then the as-built here, Bob Crawford, the guy who did the elevation certificate, says that the top of the as-built is at, or the top of the tight tank is at 7.3, and the benchmark is 7.6 in the roadway.
7, he's actually 7
7.
on the top. Well, yes.
Okay.
The benchmark's in the hole, it's not on the roadway,
Right,
but, so it could be.
exactly. It's just a nail in the road, right, that they use to measure everything else off of. What's that?
It's in the utility pole, not,
No, that is the benchmark. Yeah, it's in the utility pole. There you go.
so it could be
Yep.
off the road.
It's at 7.6, yeah, so it's probably a half of a foot off the ground, the benchmark, right? But all of the elevation I know that I have an as-built for this property that shows 5.5 is in the back of the property. Does it have the elevation lines on that one, PJ? And maybe it's a different as-built that I have for the building department than what the septic as-built is, but I have 5.5 behind the house towards that marsh area.
Give
And
me
then,
one sec, I think I might have that, give me just 1 second here.
but that's, so I agree that 5.5 is on the lot, but it's in the rear.
Not according to Rob Crawford's elevation certificate.
Bob Crawford's elevation certificate does not delineate where that location is. It's the lowest adjacent ground to the structure. It is not under the structure, it's not in front of the structure, it's not to the side. It's the lowest adjacent, and the lowest point of the property is in the rear of the property.
Okay,
I've got one.
okay.
Is there a valid floodplain permit for this?
Yes, absolutely. There has been a valid floodplain permit in effect for this property for over a year, since Alex Gorodetsky started this process.
Okay, so I wanted to give everybody a chance to say what they wanted to say. At this point, I think we need to see the amended NOI and what their analysis of the flow is going to be. And if Phil needs to come out there, well, then we can make that determination. Because yes, I agree with Attorney Watsky. There's a lot of fill that got carted onto that parcel that I don't know if it was all it was certainly necessary for the tight tank. I know the Board of Health requires it's, got to be covered by at least 6 inches. But I think we need to take a careful look at how much came in there. But I think we need to wait for the amended NOI to come in so that we know what we're looking at exactly.
One thing I kind of thought would be interesting, an interesting analysis, would be to take the volume of the old structure that used to be there, that was a solid structure, and see what the volume of that structure was below the design flood elevation, and then take the volume of the proposed fill and see what the difference is there. And if it's even or less, then I would assume it would be negligible and no adverse impact. Because the volume.
I would agree with Andrew that, we had a non-conforming house there, and under the house was extremely low. So I think the appearance of the fill coming in is much worse than it actually is, right? Like, yeah, we had 5 or 6 truckloads of sand come in, but that's actually, in the scheme of construction, not a lot of fill when you think about the fact that we took away 1,000 square foot footprint. That was way too low. And what we did was we just brought the lot up to where we needed to be. And then, for full disclosure, when the septic went in, it was still too low. They had to bring more in to get it up to the top of the septic. All we did was bring in the fill to make the lot workable and not a muddy mess. And that was the whole point when we brought the fill in, was to make it so we could actually work and, so South Shore Pile Driving could actually get a machine in there to put piles in the ground. Because otherwise they would have just been stuck in the mud, like literally. So I think that it's very dramatic, the photos that Mr. Carberry are showing, right? And rightfully so, they appear to be very dramatic. But in the reality of construction and building homes and site work, we just brought in what we needed to bring it up to an acceptable level instead of at 5, which is what it potentially could have been under the house, right?
Okay, do you have another comment, Bert? And then
Just
we're gonna.
As I recall, the original orders and conditions were that there wasn't gonna be any disturbance in the rear of the lot. And now, there's been fill put into that area. And unfortunately, we don't have a good handle on the original conditions because, you say you want to work with us and everything, but you brought in a bunch of fill, before you came
Yeah,
in
but
to
the
talk to
fill was
us.
removed in the back.
Okay, well,
Well,
I think
I don't know.
everyone has had a chance to say their piece here. We can't solve this tonight. We need to see what you're going to come in with next. And, we'll go from there. So,
Sounds great.
thank everyone for their time.
Craig, can I say something?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sam.
If the applicant is gonna submit a kind of a cut fill analysis, which Andrew kind of suggested, I would be open to seeing that and interested in seeing that. The DEP requires it to be an incremental analysis for every half foot. So it's not like a total cut fill, it's every elevation, kind of the incremental. So that's kind of where it could be a little dicey there because it's across the whole property. You know what I mean? So although the total cut versus fill might be different, at each elevation from 5 to 10 or 5 to 7.3, there could be areas that there's actually more fill in the increment of 5.5 to 6 or 6.6 to 6.5 because it's the whole property. But I'd be interested to see how that's.
Okay,
I'm happy to take a look at that, but I also think myself, I speak for all of you as well, like, I think we all just wanna come up with a solution. And, you know, what I wanna do is propose a solution I think is reasonable for everybody and see if we can just put this to bed. And that's what I'm prepared to do.
okay, thank you. I'm gonna let Mr. Carberry have one last word, and then we're finished.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just one quick question. Is construction going to be allowed to continue to go on?
Yes.
Why?
I think I'm going to
I don't need to answer that question.
close this discussion. We've given it a lot of time. We have other business to hear tonight. That is a good question, but it is beyond the scope of what we can do tonight.
Great, thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, our first public hearing is 63 Wrexham Road. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts.
Dog Lane
I
on?
think you're off.
Oh, I'm sorry, oh, geez, right. Dog Lane. Again, we are on old business, and, hello, you are Mr. Martina?
Yes.
Okay. So, we are at a point where we need, well, first of all, I want to point out, we had a 6-week period without any monitoring reports. That was not great. However, the erosion control held. What I saw when I was there on Monday was that they are removing mulch, and your contractor was discussing whether or not he wanted to put gravel down, then geotextile, then loam, then seeding. And I think this commission would be willing to entertain the gravel. I don't know whether you want to do that or not.
It was strictly just a thought, like down
Okay.
the road. It wasn't anything that was gonna, like, take place or go through with, but
I don't, that's a very steep slope
Yes.
back there, and I know they're just trying to smooth it a bit.
yeah.
If you wanted to put gravel down, we would certainly entertain that, but I know he was sort of like, maybe we will, maybe we won't. Whatever happens, gravel or no gravel, and if you want to do gravel, we would need to discuss that and decide, but we need a geotextile installed over everything.
Yes.
And what we really want is an erosion control and planting plan. We have a schedule, but when we ask for a plan, I want to know what geotextile are you using, how much loam are you putting down, and what hydroseeding mix are you using? And we haven't seen that yet. We need to see that.
Yes, that's gonna be something talk with John Zimmer
Did you
about.
speak with John?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, he's given us a timeline, we're gonna do this, this, this. That's great, but we wanna know,
You want all the pieces.
I want all the pieces of exactly what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And it should be done this month
Yes.
to get everything stabilized. And so, yes, please, and Mike, you know, we need a plan, not a schedule, a plan. Okay, I don't know if everyone here is familiar with this property. I know some of you have come on the commission. It's a very steep drop to a perennial stream. And we've had a lot of concerns from the beginning about stabilizing the slope behind where the construction is taking place. So do you have any questions for us or
Not at the moment.
any comments? Okay.
I mean, you saw it the other day, and wouldn't you agree, like, what we were doing was probably.
Yeah, no, you
realistic?
were removing the mulch and, but before you do anything further, we want to know exactly what is going to be done.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question, please. Chris Roberts,
Yes.
10
Oh,
Lane.
I'm sorry,
That's
Mr.
all right.
Roberts, yeah.
My big concern there has always been the loss of the trees and the root systems. Those trees that are in the back pretty much all died. And I know that they were supposed to be replaced or were going to be replaced, so make sure that's part of the planting.
Are you saying that the new trees that were planted are mostly dead?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, we noticed that last fall.
yeah.
So that needs, the dead trees need to be,
Yeah, we already discussed that.
yeah, replaced. Yeah, we did note that, and I think John is aware of it. Yeah,
And that's part of the plan.
that's part of the plan.
Okay. I don't know if that's up there.
Do you have any specific timeline for the erosion control plan submittal? Would it be typically the weekly reports are turned in on Fridays? Would it be this coming Friday that you'd
Yes.
like to see it?
Mhm.
Okay. So is that in 2 days or this coming week?
I would like to see it this Friday. That's not a heavy lift. We just want some specifics. Okay. Thank you. All right, now we are on our first hearing. 63 Wrexham Road. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, May 1st, 2024, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Karen Florentino. Is there someone here to present this? I am the hearing officer.
Craig, I believe someone's online. He's muted though.
Mr. Hendrickson, you are muted.
My apologies.
That's fine. Okay, would you like to, oh wait, is this yours, John? Jeepers.
What happened?
No, okay. Well, there's two different things here. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Hendrickson.
So we're looking to replace the deck in kind and location and size. It's supported by the home on three sides, and then there are a couple of footings that are undersized. So we're just looking to replace those existing footings with some new sonotube style 10-inch by 48-inch deep. I don't envision too much soil disturbance. That's kind of the gist of it, is replacing existing footings with footers that are a little larger, and there are currently two of them that appear to be undersized.
Okay. Mike, do you have any comments?
Yes, the deck there is existing. It was originally permitted to be constructed under notice of intent, SE 42-2134. this would just be a simple one-to-one replacement, swapping out 2 footings that need to be replaced as well. The land is within land subject to coast storm flowage.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any comments on this?
No.
Okay, does anyone in the audience have any comments? Hearing nothing, I move to issue a determination of applicability with a +5 and -2 and standard conditions.
Yes, I would include on the cover letter, ensure best management practices are followed before commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits, and to see the conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
Okay. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. You are all set.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it all.
Sure. Have a good evening.
You as well.
Okay, next, I am going to recuse on this next item.
Yeah.
Okay, in the absence of the chair, in compliance with the regulation of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and the Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held in Marshfield Conservation on Wednesday, May 1st, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Stephen Grable, 73 Spring Street, to determine whether the area depicted on plans or map is referenced is subject to jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act. And I'm the hearing officer. Have we got somebody here?
Steve Grable, 73 Spring Street.
Okay.
Basically, what I'd like to do is just remove the briar and the vines that are in front of the stone wall from between the street. There's about 3 feet of grass and then the stone wall. And it's just all overgrown. It's coming from the woods over, and I just want to expose the stone wall, basically. Nothing behind the stone wall.
Very good. Mike, have you got any comments on this one?
Yes, I originally received a report of cutting beyond conservation markers on the property. Came out, met Mr. Grable, and discussed kind of what has happened on that property. Mr. Grable only cleared out some opportunistic greenbrier from the buffer zone, just beyond the conservation markers, and also some dead material, which I observed him burning there on site. And additionally, as part of the RDA vegetation management plan, would be to clear along the shoulder of the road up here, along the stone wall. There is greenbrier is really taking off in this area, and I can see the need for needing to clear the shoulder along that brick wall. Here is a image of the buffer zone after clearing. You can see not too great from this picture, but the herbaceous and shrub layers are still intact. Really, it was just going in and pulling out nuisance vines.
Thank you. I'd like to open it up to other commissioners. Comments, questions?
No,
I
straightforward.
see none. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this? In this case, I'd like to make a motion to determine a +5 and a -3. Have I got a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I have,
Thank you. You're good.
Okay, thanks. That means
Oh, yeah, you're good.
I can clear that
You
area?
can clear, and the fact that you said just in front of the stone
Yes.
wall, that clarifies it for me. That's-
Okay. Okay, thank you.
we will issue your permit tomorrow.
Okay, great, thanks.
Could you tell Craig to come on back in?
Okay. Next up is Trounce Island. This is a continued hearing, and the hearing officer is Jesse.
All right. Is there anyone here from Trounce Island? Okay. Oh,
There he is.
oh, there you are. Hey, Nick.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you? So yeah, if you could just run through, the new revised plan, the planting areas, what's, intended on that, the hardscapes. So I know originally, you know, homeowners wanted an in-ground saltwater pool. It was kind of proposed in the front of the home there, encroaching on that 25-foot setback. We were concerned about the coastal bank stability, and we had asked for some calculations on the riverfront area. We received that. We received the revised plan with the homeowners now relocating the proposed pool to the side, adding some plantings around the pool area and around the home, also adding some hardscapes. So just kind of looking for you to give us an outline on that.
Sure. So my name's Nicholas. I'm a great consulting here on behalf of Baltimore Institution on this island. You actually did a really good job summarizing it right there. But to elaborate, as you mentioned, we had originally proposed pool to the rear of the house, closer towards the river. And based on your concerns, what we've done is we swung it around to the side of the house. The owners were amenable to that shift. And what I've tried to do with this plan is provide this color to help make it a little bit more clear to see what's actually going on. So let me walk through that very briefly for you so you can picture things a little more clear, because I know there's a lot happening here. As far as what was previously approved, I've used lighter colors for that, so that it's a little more in the background compared to what we're proposing now. So the original house footprint and the original deck footprint and stairs, those are all lighter gray. You'll notice that the sheds to the bottom left of the plan are also grayed out. Basically, my intent was to show anything that is impervious is colored up here to make that very easy for you to see. As far as the plantings, kind of the same story. A lighter green was used, so see kind of towards the rear of the lot, both corners. Kind of a lighter gray patch where we had previous approvals for plantings. And what we've done is added a nice thick strip kind of along the entire rear of the property, on the rear side of the property, as mitigation plantings to kind of match what we had gotten approved previously. It's almost the exact same square footage to the previous approval. As far as up near the house, what they're looking to do now is they're actually looking to expand the deck a little bit further out and put some parts, a lot of hardscaping in. Most of what you see there in the peach color is the hardscape. That's going to be all the stone that would be impervious. I think I already said the darker green is landscaping. Around the house in the pool area, I have not actually received a plan detailing specifically what plants are going in those areas. But we know that those are basically more visual landscaping. Those are not, at this point, intended to be mitigation. Planting a slight strip towards the further side. And you can see now there's a lot more contouring going on here. These are all 1 foot contours, so it's a little deceiving with how much it looks like is going on. Really, a lot of that is just kind of reworking what's there to make sure that stormwater is steered away from the structure. And we have a swale going down both sides of the lot to prevent any runoff from intruding onto the abutting properties. Something that doesn't pop out at you here is there is a cobblestone, or yes, a cobblestone driveway towards the bottom. Is this just a screenshot, or is this the whole plan zoomed in?
This is a screenshot of the plan. If you have a plan that you'd like to share, I can share the host with you. Or I can pull it up too. I just have to dig through my Google Drive.
If everyone wants me to show it, I can, but it may not be necessary. My point was that there's I think it was over 1,000 square feet a cobblestone driveway that they're looking to remove, that was counted in the impervious calculation. So I just wanted to make everyone aware that that doesn't show up here because it's something that we're proposing to remove. So there's no color up to represent that on this, which in hindsight might have been a good idea to show it, make it a little more clear. There's a large parking area within, oh, there you go, perfect. So you zoom in on the existing addition side, the left-hand side of the plan, you can see there's a cobblestone driveway that is pretty large, actually. Kind of right where your cursor is, yeah, right there.
I remember seeing it.
So they're proposing to remove that in addition to the added mitigation plantings in order to offset the construction that they're proposing. As far as the empty spaces on the proposed side, the right-hand side, there's a large parking area that has I believe it's granite stone trim around the perimeter of it, the large rectangle there. That is going to be pervious, gravel or shell. I believe they used white shell from before, and I don't know, but I imagine they might want to use something similar on this one. And then as far as the patio immediately around the pool, that is going to be pervious pavers. And we confirmed that it is going to be a saltwater pool, and they're going to put the pool equipment beneath the deck, which you might be able to see. There's a little bit of a green dashed line just adjacent to the stairwell there. There's a lot going on here, so I'll stop there because I think that's a good spot to leave it open for any questions.
Okay, thank you. So at the last meeting, we had kind of called out the erosion controls. They weren't in great shape out at the site, so we had asked for silt sock or combination of siltation fencing and silt sock would be better in that area, and you came back with a proposed plan for that. But is it correct in assuming that that has not been done yet?
The straw bales have not, but I know there has been, I had a phone conversation or two with Mike and with the builder out there, and he did go out and repair the parts that were falling apart, dismantles, whichever word I'm looking for there. He did, I believe, remedy the situation. I would have to look to Mike for confirmation on that, as I have not been to the site in quite a while.
Do you know if that has been?
I haven't been out to the site in the last week or two to
Okay.
confirm the actual erosion control barriers there. But yes, if he has photographic evidence he'd like to send to the commission, that would be beneficial too.
I can reach out to the contractor and try and get that over to you.
All right. So the pervious area or impervious area is going to be lowered, which is good.
I don't think that's true.
No, based on the impervious
Yeah, impervious is increasing.
increasing.
Yeah, pretty significant.
I didn't, hold on.
The original site plan presented had a proposed
4,000.
within Marshfield 200-foot riverfront of over 4,000 square feet. The newly revised shows a calculation of 3,554.
I thought you meant to be approved, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any comments or questions?
I have a question about the previously approved planting areas. Is there a planting plan on those?
I
Yes.
believe we all got it right.
Well, we have the new section,
No,
but originally these two corners
Yes, I took the liberty of pulling that up. Let me pull it up onto the screen right
were
now.
also required as mitigation planting.
oh, you're saying an actual plan of it?
Yeah,
Yes, so I pulled it up on the screen
okay,
here.
so that plan, okay, I
Yes.
just wanted to make sure there were plantings specified.
This area was native grasses, and then It looks like a blend between Northern Bayberry, Virginia Rose, Sweet
Okay.
Fern.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Eastern
make
Red
sure
Cedar.
that there was a plan, because the planting plan we have now is that new stretch
Just the-
of bank, but
Yes.
nothing is in there. So as long as that's in the record, that's good.
Any other comments from the commissioners?
I have a question
Yep.
to Mike, or any of you, all of you,
Okay.
obviously are new here. Does the Marshfield regulations have a 10% restriction on riverfront area disturbance?
On
I know DEP does, but does the Marshfield for the river?
I would have to reference our regulations for that. I don't have that answer readily available. Let me.
What was this question? I couldn't hear that, I'm sorry.
Does the Marshfield regulations specify a 10% disturbance of riverfront area, like the Wetland Protection Act does?
I'm not aware that it does, I don't believe so.
I didn't see it when I was going through it, but I can do a search. Is anyone else familiar?
I don't recall it.
I don't either.
I'm not sure.
I haven't read it that
Yeah.
closely.
If it's not addressed, I believe that the DEP regulations would apply. But let me pull that up.
I do believe the 10% regulation you're referring to is in reference to undisturbed areas, where this entire lot has been completely disturbed.
It's been disturbed.
Right, but I just have an issue when disturbed or not, if it's being replaced with impervious, that's kind of where my, like the approved post-construction on this plan, the impervious is increasing in the 100-foot buffer, 200-foot riverfront area DP, and the 200-foot Marshfield riverfront area. It's just like, it's a lot of take from the applicant. If you compare it to like, not the first revision to the pool, the originally approved plan,
Okay.
it's kind of a,
Where they moved the house?
where they what?
Is that what you're referring to? Back at the original when they?
The approved, yeah, correct.
Okay.
I just think it's a pretty significant change in the terms of the lot. I mean, you're talking about 400 square feet impervious in the Marshfield riverfront area, 800 in the 200-foot DEP riverfront area, when the lot's 27,000 square feet. I don't know, it seems like you guys are all comfortable with this. Obviously, I wasn't at the first hearings. I did watch them via Zoom and then, or YouTube, and then I'm all caught up on this one.
Right.
Well, they did move the house back.
Right, but I mean, that's great, but now they're kind of just like supplementing it with more impervious area. That's my only like,
In terms of the pool?
yeah, the pool, the patio, the stairs. I mean, it's not just the pool here.
The
You know what I
The
mean?
patio area is pervious, right? Around the pool.
I'd like to
proposed
see a
for-
detail of that.
There should be a detail of that on the plan.
Yep.
We do ask for the cross-section of pervious, and I thought it was up here.
Let's see. I'm not seeing cross-section readily available. It is possible that we could request to have that added to the site plan. But it is proposed, the new patio on site is proposed to be pervious.
Right, so I mean, just the pool, all the stairs, there's just a lot. It's not a small.
May I comment?
Yes.
So, this is Assessor's Lot G19-2-3, and we are showing it as 27,360 square feet. However, I'd like to note that this is an interesting scenario where technically the property is the entire island, and this is a condo association, and half of the island is completely vegetated. So this is a little bit different than most in that regard.
That is
I
a fair.
think I have on the bottom left corner of the plan, it shows a condominium plan filed with land court back in '74. My setbacks actually reflect to the extents of the condo association, because this is all technically one piece of property. So you have, if you're worried about the 10% rule,
It's not just
50% of this island is untouched.
It's not just the 10%. It's more of the change from the original plan that came before you guys.
Well, I considered this plan betterment to the original plan. Having the pool out between the house and the bank, I did not think was a great thing. They're also under the purview of the North River Commission, who
Approved it, or didn't have an
approved it.
issue with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, ideally,
I mean, the commission does have this. It's definitely a regulated area that we have control to kind of really analyze and I mean, it's. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about this on the impervious. It's where I understand the whole site's disturbed. I understand 50% of the island is undisturbed, but it's just you're replacing a lot with impervious surfaces, kind of insensitive areas too. So that's my take on it. But obviously, I'm not the whole commission. So.
You can vote against it.
A lot of times the plans have a percentage of coverage. We don't have that on this one. If I have my numbers right, I think it's about 32%.
What's 32%?
32% what?
Impervious.
The site?
Yeah.
Existing or proposed?
Proposed.
Mr. Leang, do you have any percentage calculations for the amount of impervious area on this lot? Or I guess relative to the area of 3 Trents Island?
I can do it rather quickly. 35 over 27,000 square feet comes to just shy of 13% if I did this correctly.
Why are you using 25?
20, if I said 25, I meant 27,360.
Yeah,
35.
I'm looking at the proposed post-construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3,554 divided by 27,360 is 12.9%.
Okay.
And the 3132 divided by the 27360 is,
11.4.
so it went from 11.4 to 13%.
That's kind of what I was, in each one, I mean, with DEP is from, your approved was 3.7, now it's 6.9% of the assessor's lot. I didn't do the 100-foot buffer, but it's a 1,000-foot increase. It's just from the originally approved plan, it might not look like a lot, but it is a significant change in the scheme of the lot.
Well,
Is there anyone in the public or in the room has any comments or anything to add on this? Sorry, did you have an, sorry. did you
no,
have anything?
we do need a cross-section of the pervious paving that is going to be used.
Of the pavers for the pool area?
Yes,
Okay.
And we don't know what the plantings are going to be around the pool and around the home. I don't know if we want to wait on that or if we're.
I don't think we need to judge those. We just, mitigation areas,
Mhm.
yes, we have control over, but the other landscaping, we don't.
Okay. I'm thinking. I'm still looking, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I just keep going back to,
We don't have anything in our regs regarding percentage of lot coverage.
yeah. I mean, we know that this is gonna be less impact on the resource area, the way that they have it, compared to the way that they came with it first. I mean, as the lot stands right now, I mean, it's dirt, and I'm assuming the runoff is just flowing right off into the coastal bank area now, so the sooner that we can get something done, the better.
Commissioner Platt.
Yes,
I do agree with Craig. We don't have anything in our regs for the actual percentage in Riverfront. I just did a quick search and I didn't find anything
okay,
in our regulations.
okay.
I
All right.
know it's not there because we have talked about should it be, but it isn't.
Okay. All right, if there aren't any other comments, I am going to move to vote to close the hearing with amended order of conditions, with the same conditions as listed on the original, plus the added erosion controls. Anything else, Mike, that you wanted to add to that?
No, that should summarize it. The original conditions issued under SE 422973, and then the erosion control to be in place, and for the silt fence that exists to be towed by a silt sock.
Okay, great. All right, can I get a second, please?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, next up, we have 70 Newport Street. This is a new hearing. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, May 1st, 2024, to consider the notice of intent filed for 70 Newport Street. And the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Thank you. Mike, can you confirm taxes and fees?
Yes, taxes, fees, a butter, and DEP number have been issued.
Good evening. Rick Savant with Stenbeck and Taylor, representing the applicant here, who I believe are here in the room tonight. What we're proposing with this filing is a raise and rebuild project, residential. They desire to demolish the existing home. They certainly went through the process of deciding whether to try to restore or keep the home, and there's just a lot of issues with the older home and the foundation, and here we are with a proposal to demolish the existing home and replace it with a new one. The property is within the buffer zone of the South River Salt Marsh. We're on the west side of Newport Street, as you're probably aware. The existing and the proposed home are both partially in the 100-foot buffer. There is a flood zone on the property, but not in the work area. It's down at the bottom of the slope in the area of the marsh. The existing home is approximately 63 feet off of the edge of the marsh. The proposed home is going to be slightly further back at 77 feet. We have erosion controls in place throughout the complete construction process. As you can see, we do have an increase in impervious coverage on the entire site. Overall, most of that is outside the buffer. As you can see, a majority of the new home is outside of the 100-foot buffer. I did take a look at, just in the buffer zone, we actually have a slight decrease of 35 square feet between the new and the existing home. But overall, we have a 633 square foot increase on the site itself. The house is going to be on a concrete foundation, standard construction. Again, we're not in the flood area, so there's be no flood requirements or floodplain permits for this. Essentially, that's what we're hoping to do, is construct a new home within this buffer zone to the salt marsh and protect it during the process. There's some grading, as you can see, inside the 100, just to kind of level out the yard area around the home. Minor grading, I would say, but there is some shown between the 25 and the 100 foot, just in the area around the house, and extends out towards the erosion control barrier. But that's essentially what we're hoping to do, is get approval for a project within the buffer zone. I'll do my best to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Mike, your comments?
Yes, this would be a raise and rebuild within buffer zone. The applicant wishes to raise and rebuild the single-family home on site. The home is within 100-foot buffer zone to salt marsh and outside of the riverfront area. The new home would be increased by 557 square feet. The impervious coverage on the lot would increase by 653 square feet. The new home will have a concrete foundation, thus the increase in impervious area. There are also 2 large red cedars on the tree, on the site. I inquired Mr. Savant if they were to remain or not. They're outside of the 100, so yes.
Okay. I'd like to open it up to questions from other commissioners.
Mike, did you mean that those trees are remaining? Is that what you just said?
I inquired if they were.
Okay.
Mr. Savant pointed out that they were indeed beyond the 100-foot buffer zone, so outside of our jurisdiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are the ones in the island of the driveway, Mike, that you're
Yeah,
talking
in
about?
proximity to those.
The homeowner, as far as I knew, we were planning on leaving those trees in the island of the existing driveway there?
Yes.
Cedar trees?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those trees will remain. There are some in the area of the house that are gonna be taken down for sure, of the proposed house.
Okay, nothing from commissioners. Is there anybody in the audience or in Zoom that has any comments? I see nothing. Close the hearing and issue special conditions. Mike, you have anything other than standard?
Yes, the standard conditions, so general conditions 1 through 18, prior to construction, condition 5 and 2, during construction, condition 11, after construction, condition 1, and then erosion control, condition 1.
Thank you. Have I got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
One unrelated question. What
Yes.
is that tower?
Yeah,
Is it,
I'm curious about the
Was that an
tower.
observatory or?
I could.
It's a secret.
Yeah.
I've looked at it from the river for 20 years.
Yeah, it's, so there's, it's just, winding stairs that go up to the tower, and then, you know, we have a telescope up there, but you get, you know, full visibility to the marsh and to the ocean.
Yeah, I was looking at it thinking, oh, those views must be beautiful.
Yeah, but I think if you, we've been there 12 years, 15 years, and I think we might have gone up less than a handful of times.
Really?
To the top of the tower, so it looks good from the outside, but it's not very functional.
All right, thank
Okay.
you. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
So,
Okay, certificates of compliance. SE 420138, that's an oldie.
Yes, it is.
I move to issue a certificate of compliance for a pool that was built in 1982. May I have a second?
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 29, oh, that is 222 Ocean Street. This is another interesting one.
If I
This is a house that doesn't even really exist as.
would you like me to speak on that one?
Yeah, would you summarize this?
So 222 Ocean Street was, this permit was originally for a deck that was here. During one of the, I may have been the no-name storm. I'm not sure exactly which storm took out the deck, but a large storm came in, took out the deck. They never replaced it. So this is for a COC for a structure that no longer exists.
So, do we issue a COC or do we, what's the,
I've
invalid
suggested we
order of
issue an
conditions?
invalid
Yeah.
COC. I believe is the correct term for it.
is, okay.
Let me-
Yeah, I would say I move to issue an invalid order of conditions, right? Is that what,
Yes, that is what it is. Invalid
Okay.
order of conditions.
may I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have all the really wacky stuff tonight. SE 422365 and 2448 at 1 Jackson Street. You want to summarize this one, Mike?
Yes, this is this property has a number of outstanding COCs on it. The homeowners have come back. Most recently, they came back in a couple months ago in February to extend a revetment permit that they have on the property, 2560. Also, upon doing research here, it appears that they have another outstanding order of conditions, which is a very early order of conditions, SE 420042, which was to construct a seawall in conjunction with 4 Concord Street. This order of conditions is still outstanding, has not received a COC yet. And then there was also SE 421283, which was to replace a deck on, once again, a structure that no longer exists. So those two are outstanding. They have not filed for a COC. I discovered that they were still open orders of condition after doing the research for this property. So it should be relayed to the homeowner that they still have some orders standing out there that need to be closed. However, SE 422365 for the addition renovation, work never commenced on this, as it was determined after sending the plans to the building department that the work would be a substantial improvement and would require a new flood compliant foundation. So the work was never started on that one. I would suggest issuing, once again, an invalid order of conditions. And then SE 422448 is for the raise and rebuild of the single family home, which was done in accordance to their approved site plan. So I would recommend that you issue a complete certificate of compliance for that one.
Okay, so I move to issue an invalid order of conditions for SE 422365. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And a complete COC for SE 422448. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm just gonna leave the other two alone.
Yes.
Okay, SE 422984, 25 Caroline Circle. We are still waiting for erosion.
Yeah, no
An erosion
updates.
issue here?
No updates on that one yet.
Right. So I move to table this. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
SE 422923, 162 Bay Ave. We are still, it seems to be moving forward, but we're still waiting. So I move to table this. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And SE 422923, 160 Bay Avenue. We still have floodplain violations. So I move to table this also. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That concludes our business. I move to close the Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.